The mirroring reflex. The human brain functions through a complex network of mirror neurons. These neurons fire when an individual observes an action performed by another person. It is a biological necessity for maintaining social cohesion within a group. In small talk, mirroring is the primary mechanism for creating an artificial sense of familiarity. You must consciously synchronize your physical posture with the target individual. If they adjust their seating position, you adjust yours. If they touch their face, you perform a similar movement. This activates a primitive tribal recognition sequence in the amygdala. They begin to view you as a safe component of their own social reality. It is an involuntary biological response that bypasses conscious critical thinking. The target feels an unearned trust. Human connection is often a repetitive sound loop. Strategic mirroring extends beyond physical movement into linguistic structures and speech patterns. You must adopt the target's specific vocabulary and verbal tempo. If they use technical terminology, you incorporate it into your responses. If they speak with a slow cadence, you decelerate your own delivery. This creates a psychological feedback loop. Research indicates that subjects who are mirrored report higher levels of affinity for the person performing the mimicry. They are unaware that their ego is being stimulated by a reflection of their own internal patterns. The introvert uses this to remain unnoticed while maintaining operational control. You do not need to invent a personality for the interaction. You simply borrow the personality of the target. This reduces the energy required for social engagement. We are biological reflectors. The spotlight effect. Social anxiety is fueled by the irrational belief that others are hyper-focused on your performance. This is a cognitive bias known as the spotlight effect. Neuroimaging data reveals that the medial prefrontal cortex is hyperactive during periods of perceived social evaluation. You believe every verbal error is a catastrophic event. In reality, the average human is deeply preoccupied with their own internal narrative. They are too busy calculating their own social status to notice your minor flaws. Their internal monologue is a constant stream of self-correction and ego maintenance. Your presence is merely a peripheral visual stimulus in their personal experience. Understanding this biological egocentrism provides a clinical advantage. It allows you to operate with complete indifference. You are not under a microscope. Ego is a prison. To master small talk, you must exploit this collective focus on the self. Shift the perceived spotlight from your own actions to the target. Ask open-ended questions that trigger their brain's reward centers. Talking about oneself releases dopamine in the same way as food or monetary gain. By becoming a listener, you provide the target with a consistent chemical high. They will leave the interaction believing you are a highly competent communicator. In truth, you have said nothing of significant substance. You have merely functioned as a passive witness to their inherent self-absorption. This minimizes your own risk of social rejection or judgment. You remain a blank slate during the exchange. You gather data while they exhaust their psychological resources. Survival requires observation. We are alone together. Information asymmetry. Knowledge is the primary currency in every human exchange. Small talk is often dismissed as trivial banter. This is a strategic error in judgment. Every sentence spoken by a target provides a data point regarding their insecurities and aspirations. The objective is to maximize information intake while minimizing your own personal exposure. This creates a state of information asymmetry. You become a terminal for information acquisition. You must utilize the 2-to-1 rule during the interaction. Ask 2 investigative questions for every 1 vague statement you provide. Ensure your own statements are non-committal and lack specific detail. This prevents the target from forming a concrete psychological profile of your character. You remain an enigma to them. They expose their internal architecture with every anecdote. Information is social leverage. The introvert is naturally suited for this role because they prefer observation over active participation. You must learn to identify leaky information during the conversation. These are the unsolicited details people provide to justify their perceived social status. A mention of an expensive acquisition or a prestigious association is a physiological cry for validation. You must acknowledge these signals to keep the flow of information steady. Use active listening cues to signal engagement without providing any original content. Nods and brief verbal affirmations are sufficient for this purpose. This keeps the target's ego engaged while your own mind remains detached. You are analyzing their utility and their weaknesses in real time. By the end, you possess a structural profile of their psychological weaknesses. Silence is a tool for dominance. The Ben Franklin effect. Human psychology is governed by the necessity for internal cognitive consistency. Cognitive dissonance occurs when an individual's actions do not align with their internal beliefs. You can manipulate someone into a state of affinity by asking them for a small favor. This is the Ben Franklin effect. When a target performs a task for you, their brain must rationalize the effort. The internal logic is simple. I am helping this individual. Therefore, I must perceive this individual as worthy of my help. If I did not like them, I would not provide assistance. This bypasses the need for traditional charm or likability. You do not need to be charismatic. You only need to be the recipient of their minor psychological investment. Ask for a trivial opinion. Help creates liking. This tactic is highly effective in high-pressure social environments. It establishes an immediate, albeit artificial, bond of cooperation between the two parties. The target becomes psychologically invested in your continued success. They have provided resources, and the human brain hates to waste energy on an unworthy subject. You are essentially hacking their self-perception and forcing a positive association. The more they do for you, the more they will defend your character to other people. It is a cynical loop of self-justification. You can build an entire social network based on these small, engineered dependencies. This turns the social hierarchy in your favor without requiring overt aggression or dominance. You become a person of value simply because people have decided to invest in you. Humans serve their own investments. Microexpressions. The human face is a biological indicator for internal emotional states. Despite our best efforts, we cannot fully suppress our true reactions to stimuli. Microexpressions are involuntary facial movements that last less than half a second. They reveal the truth behind the social mask of politeness. To master small talk, you must become a student of these rapid muscular flashes. Look for the sudden narrowing of the eyes that signals suspicion. Watch for the slight pull of the mouth to one side, which indicates contempt. These signals tell you exactly when to pivot the conversation. If you detect boredom, you change the topic immediately. If you detect discomfort, you retreat. This gives you the appearance of having supernatural social intuition. You are simply reading the muscular leaks. The face never lies. Understanding microexpressions allows you to navigate social environments with extreme precision. You can tell if a compliment is genuine or a calculated social lie. You can sense the exact moment a target begins to lose interest in the current topic. This prevents the primary fear of the introvert, the awkward silence, or the overstayed welcome. You exit the interaction while you are still perceived as a high-value participant. This requires intense focus and clinical detachment from the emotional content. You must view every face as a complex topographical map of nerves and muscles. Do not get distracted by the words being spoken. The words are often decorative or deceptive in nature. The muscles of the brow provide the only honest data. Humans are predictable biological machines with transparent interfaces. Status signaling. Every human interaction is a negotiation of social hierarchy and dominance. We are primates constantly assessing our relative position within a group. Small talk is the verbal medium for this continuous assessment. Status is signaled through vocal tonality, body space, and the control of time. Low-status individuals speak rapidly and fill silences with nervous laughter. They apologize for taking up physical space in a room. To master the interaction, you must adopt high-status markers. Speak with a steady, lower-pitched voice. Use pauses strategically to demonstrate that you are not intimidated by silence. Silence is a power move in social dynamics. It forces the other person to fill the void, often revealing their own insecurities in the process. You occupy your physical space with calm entitlement. Hierarchy is unavoidable. Introverts often mistake social avoidance for low status. This is a tactical failure in understanding human behavior. Quietness can be framed as a signal of extreme confidence and selective engagement. You do not need to be the loudest person in the room to dominate the environment. You only need to be the most composed individual present. By maintaining a neutral emotional baseline, you appear psychologically unshakable. People are drawn to those who seem self-contained and uninterested in external validation. This is the irony of social attraction. The less you care about the approval of others, the more they will seek yours. You must treat every interaction as a transaction where you hold the currency. Do not over-explain your presence. Control the frame of the conversation. Confidence is the absence of visible panic. The pratfall effect. Total competence is socially alienating to the average person. Humans are biologically programmed to be suspicious of perfection. It triggers feelings of inadequacy and envy in others. This is why the most successful manipulators use the pratfall effect. By exhibiting a minor, controlled flaw, you become more relatable and trustworthy to your target. Research indicates that people who committed a small blunder were rated as more attractive than those who were flawless. In small talk, you should occasionally mention a trivial mistake or a minor struggle. This humanizes your clinical persona and lowers the target's defensive barriers. They feel superior to you for a brief moment, which makes them feel safe. This safety is an illusion that allows you to probe deeper into their psychology. Perfection is a social barrier. The key to the pratfall effect is the maintenance of a baseline of high competence. A blunder only works if you are already perceived as a capable individual. If a low-status person fails, it is simply seen as incompetence. If a high-status person fails, it is seen as an endearing trait. You must balance your clinical precision with these artificial moments of minor clumsiness. Spilling a drop of water or forgetting a minor name can be used to build instant rapport. It creates a narrative of shared humanity that is highly effective for gathering information. The target will relax their guard and speak more freely about their own life. You are using their own empathy as a deceptive entry mechanism. They think they are bonding. In reality, you are executing a strategy. Vulnerability is power. Temporal framing. Perception is heavily influenced by how an experience concludes. This is known as the peak end rule in psychology. People do not remember the actual duration of an interaction. They remember the most intense moment and the final moment of the exchange. To master small talk, you must control the exit. Never wait for a conversation to die a natural death. This leaves a lingering impression of exhaustion and boredom. Instead, you must cut the interaction short while the social energy is still high. This creates a psychological effect where the brain remembers unfinished tasks more vividly. By leaving early, you stay in the target's mind as an intriguing individual. You frame yourself as someone whose time is valuable. This increases your perceived social market value. Memory is a reconstructed record. Small talk is a marathon of diminishing returns over time. The longer it lasts, the more likely you are to commit a social error or reveal too much personal data. High-value individuals are always moving towards something more important. You must master the polite extraction. Provide a brief, non-debatable reason for leaving the area. Acknowledge the value of the conversation and then immediately physically disengage from the target. This leaves the person wanting more of your attention in the future. It creates an aura of mystery and professional importance. You are not an introvert hiding from the crowd. You are a specialist who has completed a task and is moving to the next objective. This final framing ensures that your brief interaction has a disproportionate impact. The exit is everything.